Let me see. I think we are live. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Just wait on this signal to pick up. And before I get going, listen, it says it up there. It just popped up. Hood Parenting. Watch live now. HPL season 3, episode 7. I got a piece of hair up in my mouth. Let me figure out what's going on. There we go. There we. Listen. Listen, y'all know I have to check and make sure I'm live, to make sure that I'm talking to y'all, to make sure that I can hear me. Okay, y'all come on in here, come on in there. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Okay, and anybody out there, happy Father's Day. If you are a father or have been doing duties of a father, okay, to anybody, whether it was some people that you actually helped birth or bring to this world, or if it was because you mentored or helped raise some people. Like, listen, I didn't have a father growing up. All right, y'all know the story, okay? Mm-hmm. Y'all know the story. If you don't, go back and watch it. Listen, I've seen my daddy 4 times in my life, okay? However, my mother had 6 brothers, okay? My mother had 6 brothers, and then plus I had extended cousins. And so when I tell you that although I didn't have an actual father in my life, and then plus I had a grandfather who was, listen, he was all man, honey. He was all man, my mother's father. He was all man, and we was over their house every day. So although I did not have a father of my own in my life, I had a lot of men in my life who contribute to me. And I believe that's why people tell me that, the way I think sometimes, it makes me think about that episode or that sitcom of oh God, it was I think it was The Best Man, where Mike what's his name? Omar Epps. No, not Omar Epps. I can't remember. The guy with the glasses told Nia Long, or he was talking to some friends, and he said Nia Long, they said something about her, she was halfway a man. In other words, because she had such strong character, like she had such strong personality, that's the best way they could define her. And so when I think about myself, I think about that because I feel that because of the men that I was raised around, I was able to learn a lot of things, about what to do, what not to do. I ain't saying it helped me make the best decisions, but baby, you can't say I did the same thing twice. It ain't too many things in my life that people can say that I've done the same thing twice. Why? Because I had good men in my life, and I said, okay, first time this happened, it didn't turn out right. Let me go on over here, okay? So anyway, listen. Hello, 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 and welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Yashika Foster, affectionately known as Hood or Fairy Godmother, and you are watching Hood Parenting. Listen, I come in here on a Sunday because this is my time to really talk to people, right? Talk to people and talk to people about real life events, okay? So whether it's something that I've experienced or I know someone that experienced it or I'm educated in that area, like, and it might be a combination of everything, okay? My credentials, if you want to hear my credentials, I can list them, but I won't, okay? However, at the same time, what I do know is that hood parenting, this is because I was raised in Detroit, honey. And then I went to the military and I used those skills and I helped me to get along to the next, to the next, to the next. And I retired 10 years ago. So I sit here in front of you, right? And so I know that this right here, being from Detroit, has helped me to be who I am today and to thrive in this life. And so in my mind, the skills that is needed for people to be successful in this world, for people to strive in this world. Hey Gwen, how you doing, honey? Happy Sunday to you. For people to strive in this world, for people to be able to move forward. Because listen, we can't listen. There's an old saying that people say, don't let anybody give you any wood nickels. Okay. That's not one of those things that people say just because. It's because it's really true, right? I was watching this, I'm gonna say this before I start, but I was watching this thing today, just a little while ago. I don't even know how it came across my feed, but I was watching this thing about a scam about a couple, and they had something called the BIND. So it was blessings in no time, or blessings in no something. It was bind is what they called it, but it was a young couple. And the reason why I came across my feed, because supposedly they just got like 40 years or something in jail for fraud. Okay, because they were taking these people's monies during when we were in COVID, and they were doing pyramid schemes with people money, and so now they are they go to jail. It was a young black couple, And so anyway, and so I'm listening to them talk about the scheme, and I'm listening to them, and I'm like, I remember one of my high school friends who told me about like a thing like that, and what they told me was, you get they give you money, like you put money into this little kitty, like I don't know, maybe $50, $100. I don't remember how much it was, but you put money into this little pot, and so you put money into this pot like every month, and then on like the end of the year, I don't know what, I'm just throwing a time out there. Then it's your turn to collect the pot. And so, but at that point, you got to keep giving money to it. You don't stop just because you collect the pot. You got to keep giving money to it. Then you got to wait on your turn again. And so I'm like, that don't sound like a something I want to do, because can I just take that money and set it to the side and make that same amount of money that time? And I was like, and when I'm gonna get my second round? He was like, well, you'll get it. I say no. So I say that to say that I just remember thinking to myself, if that ain't no doggone con, baby, I mean, and he was convinced about it. This person that I spoke to was convinced that this was a good idea. And when I talked to him about it, I don't know, maybe a year or so after, I asked him about it. He was like, yeah, I don't do that no more. Dude, because it was a Ponzi scheme. I don't understand why you didn't see that it was. But I say that because when I think about the things that I read, that I came across, and the things I had to do in order to make sure that I survived this world, and one of them was not to be a person that took wood nickels from folks. Okay. And so I know that there's people out here in the world that need a mother like me. Okay. And so that's where the parenting come in at. That's where the parents are coming in, because see, I tell my kids, and I have raised a total of 5 kids, where I'm raising my fifth child, and she's an adopted daughter. She's 12 now, and my oldest bonus daughter being 36 now. Okay, something like that. But I say this to say that I'm no expert or nothing like that, but I know that I experienced every forms of parenting, whether it was single parenthood, being a divorced parent, being from an absentee parent, like, just whatever, being one child losing a parent. Listen, I've experienced all kind of things when it comes to parenthood, like what they call it, combining families, and just whatever. And so through that, I've had to experience different people, different experiences. And then me being in the military, that is a form of, you have to, be in charge of people, because a lot of those people don't even know what they're going to do with their life if it wasn't for the military. And I'm sure at one point I may have been something like them. Right. But I also know that me being where I'm from helped me survive. And so I mix all those things together, and this is how we get hood parenting. Okay. So if this is something you feel like you would be interested in, make sure you buy you some, listen, look around the neighborhood, okay? Hood parents, and look around the neighborhood, all right? Pick you a house somewhere and go ahead and pick that subscribe button. And that's your residency, okay? That's your residency. And make sure you turn on the notifications, so when I post a video or go live, you will be the first to know. Today we are talking about, you are somebody's goals, and you need to start believing it. You are somebody's goals, and you need to start believing it. And let me say this, how this came about. I don't know if you've been following me on my journey, but for like the last 5 weeks, I have been vlogging my life. Okay, now it started off with me vlogging every day, and uploading a video every day. But then as time went on, I realized that, first of all, my life is not that interesting to have something different to do every day, number one. And number two, it was just a lot of work. And so as it became a lot of work, I said, well, okay, I'll do 3 videos, 3 days at a time, or now I'm at 1 week at a time, honey. So y'all will get last week's vlog in the morning, okay? Because now I'm at 1 week at a time. Why? Because this is a lot of work. But it made me think about how people believe that content creation or things like that, like myself, I'm one of the people, it's easy, because it's not. And so it makes you to appreciate where you are. But here's the thing, I have to also be able to appreciate where I'm at, because I have the flexibility, okay, as a retiree, to play with these things and figure out what goes on. Right? You see how that is? And so, and I say that is because we have to be in a space where understand that we are somebody's goals, and we need to start believing it. I'm gonna give you guys a story. When I was a kid, I mean, because I got several stories, because I woke up this morning, I don't know how, but this was what I needed to give today. I don't know why, but this was the message. Okay. And y'all know how I feel, right? As a fairy godmother, when I'm told to tell a message, I already know it ain't just for me. I know it's for y'all too, because somebody out there need to hear. Why? Because they told me to tell y'all. Okay. So I remember when I was a kid, I used to want to have braces and glasses because in my mind, I was smart. Okay. I was smart. Now, was I a straight A student? Yes. Okay. But other than that, it was easy to me back then. Now, as I got older and older or whatever, and I got further into other things, my attention span for school became further and further. So now I went to the best school in the country, Cass Tech High, shout out class 91. Okay. And with that, I knew I had to maintain a certain grade point average. But it was one of those things where I wasn't up all night. I didn't put all my investment into school by that time because why? I had to work two jobs. Okay. So I say all this to say that I remember I wanted to be really smart, right? When I was about 13 years old, 12, 13 years old, I wanted to look real smart because I was like, I don't think people know I'm that smart because I'm smart. I don't know why I wanted to look smart. So I wanted to wear glasses and I wanted braces. Okay. Now, mind you, I didn't need braces or glasses. Now, I need glasses now. The thing about it, I need them now and I won't even wear them because I don't like how they sit on my nose. Okay. And literally, I can't see a lick at 53. All right. Now, with that being said, I wanted braces and glasses. And when I started to talk to the kids that had braces and glasses, they didn't want them. And I was like, wow, but y'all look so smart. They was like, that's the problem. We don't want to look smart. They was like, people took a look at us and call us this and call us that. I was like, what's wrong with that? Because in my mind, it was like you were somebody. I mean, I don't know. It was like that meant that you had something. That meant that you was identified as being smart. And if you are the way my mind worked, if you were identified as being smart, then you got to be one of these people that's going to go out here and do amazing things, right? Be a doctor, be a lawyer, be whatever. So I figured, okay, let me fake it till I make it. Okay, I knew I was smart, but I wasn't as smart as I wanted to be because I knew it was some kids that was a lot smarter than me. Okay, so I figured, well, let me look smart, and then that way I'll be able to be smart. So it was one of those things that I recognized that, hold up, I want something that they have, and they don't even want what they have. Okay, and then it made me think about another thing. I remember when I joined the army back in 1991, right? Because I joined the army 25 years. I retired in 2016. I went in at 174 pounds. Okay. Now, 5'7", I was 5'7", I was 174 pounds. Now, something that they had to do if you didn't fall within a certain weight, because we were required to have a certain weight. And if you didn't have that weight, and I think back then, for me and my age, it might have been like 154, maybe 156 pounds. I can't remember. But what I do know is that if you did not fall within the weight, then you had to fall within the tape test. And so when I went into the army, I was a real strong girl, always have been, I am now. I lift weights, I was a power lifter, and I was really, really into it when I went into the army. I was really into powerlifting and strength training and things like that. And so for me to be able to, when I was a kid, literally as a 17-year-old, I could lift my body weight. Right. I could bench press my body weight. And at that time, that was between 160, 170, something like that. I could bench press my body weight. And so I had ambitions to be a bodybuilder at some point in my life. Okay. One of my things I wanted to do. Well, anyway, so of course, for me to be able to be kind of strong, I had to have a certain girth to me. And but when I got into the army, that was something that wasn't allowed. It was like you were fat because people automatically put you into this bubble. And so now as a kid, now here's the thing, as a kid, I always wanted to be a size zero, a size two, because I remember when I was 10 years old, I was everything in increments of five. I was 100 pounds. I wore a size 10 shoe. I was 5 foot tall. And I was in the fifth grade. It was like everything about me was excuse me, increments of five, because it was at that time that I started my menses and my mom had to take me to the doctor. And so it was like, okay, this is 10, and everything is in increments of five. Because remember, I was smart. Everything about me was just about numbers and things like that. And so I say that to say that, so I knew that I would never be slim. So I think that's kind of what made me decide to say, okay, if I'm not going to be slim, then let me be really strong. And so for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to take whatever weight I got and I'm going to just turn into muscle. I'm going to just take it and build on it and be strong. And when I tell you, I became strong as a young girl to the point where I even had a little boy break up with me because I was stronger than him. Okay. I even had a little boy break up with me because I was stronger than him. Okay. But that's another story, y'all. That's another story. It didn't happen again as an adult. Okay. But that's another story too. We ain't going to talk about that. That ain't what we here for. Okay. I say this to say that when I joined the army in 91, I wore 174 pounds. Now, I was pregnant 3 times in my life. The second time my kids didn't make it, they were twins. However, my first son and my second son, which was the first and third pregnancy, I carried them to terms. Both pregnancies, I gained exactly 87 pounds. Kid you not, 87 pounds with both pregnancies. There was something going on with me with both pregnancies, okay? It was like, at the end, it was like, listen, you don't need to have no more babies. And that's why I pretty much shut it down after that, okay? And so it was one of those things where even after those babies, I managed to lose the 87 pounds back. I mean, pound for pound, and fell right back to that weight range of once between, by that time, I think my weight would stay between 178 and 185. Okay. And it was like, wait a minute, if I could lose 87 pounds back, why can't I lose 3, 4, 5, 6 more pounds? Whatever I did to get to lose this, I mean, especially with my second son. With my second son, I managed to lose 85 of those 87 pounds back in under 6 months. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, girl, keep going. I think it took me another 2 months to lose those last 2 or 3 pounds, but I could never go further than that unless I did something drastic, right? And so I say this to say, when I retired from the Army 25 years later, I retired at 178 pounds. Today, when I stepped on a scale, I was 181 pounds, and I'm 53 years of age. And so remember, when I joined the Army, I was 18, and I'm 53. And so it wasn't until someone said to me one day, Yashika, you the ideal weight. And I was like, what? They was like, yeah, you the ideal weight for a woman. They was like, and they started telling me about me because they were seeing it from a different perspective than the way that I had seen it. Because the way that I had seen it was through the eyes of a girl who always wanted to be a size zero, or who always wanted to be a size two, or couldn't understand why I had to always be the big girl. Why couldn't I be the little bitty damsel in distress girl? Right. And so I was seeing it through my eyes. And not only that, but when I seen it through, and I was seeing it through the eyes of the military, which said to me that if I'm not in this little bracket right here, then I may not be good enough. And so this put me on, even in the military, that put me on one of those things where I started to run more. So because people would look at me, again, because of perception, by me already being a bigger girl and I was muscular, right? Again, I had to be weighed and taped. I couldn't come in on the tape. Like they couldn't measure, look at me and say, okay, she fit the regulation. No, they had to say, no, let's see if she got bone to height ratio to hip ratio. Luckily for me, my European side kick in more than my African side when it comes to my hip and ratio, okay? Because Europeans have big bones. I have big hands. I have a size 10 shoe, like whatever. I'm fat, like lucky for me, those things kick in, right? And so my bone structure allowed me to always meet the tape test, or yeah, the tape test. And so I will always come in well under the allowable body weight or body fat. Because again, I was more into lifting, so that means I had more muscle than anything else. And so now, as I'm out of the military, even before I retired, I just remember how I always still wanted to. Even when I retired, I remember thinking, "Damn, I'm coming out of it on the tape." So by that time, they had changed the regulations where you could be. I think at my age at that time, I think I could weigh like 171, maybe 169. I don't know. And at one point, I had got down to 167 because I was doing the Dr. Atkins diet where I wasn't eating no carbs, doing crazy stuff. But then as soon as I would go back to my regular eating habits, I would go right back between 175, or excuse me, 178 and 185. And so it was never anything that I could maintain. But it was not until someone told me, you are the ideal size. Like, think about it. You're a woman. You're a grown woman. You're active. You're this, you're that. Like, because I'm not, and she was like, because I have height to me, I'm 5'7". And so when she said it to me, I was like, wow, because when you think about it, there are people in the world, again, where you are somebody's goals. And we need to start believing it. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to ever say don't keep improving on yourself, because I don't think there's ever anyone in the world who wake up and say, I'm perfect. There's nothing about me that I don't want to change, because even at my ideal weight, or what I see, what my body is ideal weight for me, right? They call it I forget what it's called, but when your body is just like, my body stays into this one weight time frame. I mean, one weight frame. And what's beautiful about it, right? And I had to learn to appreciate this because I didn't, is that when my body gets to a certain point of that max weight of 185, all of a sudden it just seems like my body just knows what to do and it'll start coming back down. It's like it instinctively, I'll start eating less, or this is not living a good life as much. I don't know, right? Drinking more water, or eating things that's not as sodium filled. I don't know, but it's like my body will do something instinctively. But then, just like when I get too far slim, again, if I do something stupid, like go out here and try some new, do something, a new peel or whatever, and I get down to 165, my body feels like it's like I'm ill, like I can't, like I don't function well. And it's really weird how that works. It's like it's not good for me to be that small. And it's crazy. And not only that, but I feel weak as hell that small, because I'm at, like I said, I like to be strong. Okay. So when I'm small, I don't like to feel weak like that. I tell people I need them extra 10 pounds. I do. Make me feel like I protect myself better. I'm just saying. But the lessons here is when we think about ourselves, right? I'm not ever telling anybody, like I said, to be at a place in your life where you're saying, you know what, I'm good. There's nothing about me that I don't need that I need to change. None of that, right? But what I am saying is we have to look at our lives and say, you know what, I already know things could be different. I already know things could be different, right? And we all want that perfect life, right? But in order for us to have that perfect life, we all have to figure out what the word perfect means first, right? What the word perfect means first, because we all have a definition. I mean, Webster defines it as without flaws, like something being like perfect for a situation, like it's nothing about it that needs to be corrected, right? But then we have to decide what's perfect, because what's perfect for one person may not be perfect for somebody else. There was a time when it was okay for, a family of four to be a man, a wife, and two kids, and a dog, and a white picket fence, and the husband make enough money, and as long as everybody can take a vacation every year, and we get the minimum, that ain't enough no more. But to some people, that's perfect. To other people, that's not enough. They want more. And so now it takes for the wife to work, or it takes for the man to make more money, or it takes things because perfect looks different. Or it could be where the husband and wife could be a wife and a wife, or a husband and a husband. Everybody's perfect looks different. And because it does, we always should strive to want something different for ourselves, something better to try to get to our interpretation of perfection. But we need to make sure that we recognize that who we are and where we are is somebody else's goals. Because if we recognize that and appreciate those things, then I promise you we will be granted other things. It reminds me of when, it was one of those things where I think about I thought about those one of those things when people say so one person's trash, another person's treasure, right? In other words, we sometimes we try so hard to to figure out why this area of our lives is not where we want it. When we have to think about, okay, is that what we're feeding into? Is that what we're feeding? Because in order for this area to do something different, we have to do something different, right? We have to acknowledge different things. And so sometimes that takes for us to say, okay, I need to appreciate this so I can understand this, so maybe I can adjust this over here. And let me ask you a question. When we think about confidence, where do you believe confidence come from? Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Gwen. When you think about confidence, where do confidence come from? Is confidence something that's internal or external? Because I have my philosophy of it. Okay. And this is my philosophy. And let me pause and come back to it so that way it give you a moment to think about it, right? But one of the things I want you to recognize about yourself is what do you value? What do you recognize and value as your own? Like when you think about you, do you recognize your own value? In other words, is what I want to say. Do you recognize your own value? And if so, tell me down below what's the thing you value about yourself, right? And now I want to come back to that thing of that question about if I feel that confidence is internal or external. I'm going to say this. I remember as a kid, my mother used to tell my brother, because my brother would always go to school, and I've said this before because this is one of the best analogies that I can come up with. My brother would do things in school where he would get suspended, he would get kicked out, or he would get bad grades. And his excuse for anything, or his combat with my mother all the time was, "They don't like me. Them people don't like me." So one day my mother told my brother, she said, well, it can't be everybody, right? It can't be everybody that doesn't like you. It has to be something that you're doing. Now, I'm not saying that kids don't make reputation for themselves because they do. And then once people think about who you are, they made it a It's true. However, like my mother said, you've been through different schools, you've had different teachers, but yet you still experiencing this. So what I'm saying to you is that yes, confidence is internal. But if people keep telling you certain things about yourself, at some point you have to say, okay, and sometimes those things are good things too. People could compliment you and say, hey, you're this, you're that, or my God, you're this or you're that. So what I'm saying to you is that you want to have some validity to it. In other words, you can't just be out here like I would. Like when I was a kid, like I said, I wanted to be smart, right? I wanted to wear glasses and have braces because in my mind, that was what's going to make me smart. Okay. In other words, some things you can't, you have to just recognize and say, okay, I needed to know that this is true who I am because they told me so, right? Now I couldn't just look smart. I had to actually be smart. And so there's points in my life where I am smart. And so I had to be able to say, okay, that's because people would tell me so. And not only that, but the grades would represent. So this is my area, right? And so not only was it something that I felt with internal myself when it came to believing that that confidence was within, but it was people that would tell me, hey, you're good at this. Hey, you're good at that. And so I needed that external validation in order to have that confidence to say, well, maybe I am, because sometimes we do doubt ourselves. Sometimes we do say, you know what, am I? Right? Do I need to? Or am I that person that my mother was talking to, which was my brother, saying, hold up, wait a minute now. You know, if people aren't telling you this about yourself, maybe you should, right? Maybe you aren't what you think you are. Because we need to check ourselves sometimes. Because again, perfect looks very different for everybody, right? You got to figure out what works for you. Okay. But what I do know is, again, you are somebody's goals. And when we start recognizing that we are somebody's goals, because at the end, we're not looking for perfection. None of us are, because we have already arrived. Because, like I said, perfection, what is that? What does it look like? But when you own that you are somebody's goal, you walk up, you show up, you look different. Okay. And sometimes it might need for you to put on some glasses and some braces, okay? And fake it till you make it. It may need you to do that. But you do whatever you got to do because, again, even when people don't tell you or validate you, you are somebody's goals. And you need to know that. Because one area, like I said, as a soldier, soldiers told me, Army said, you know what? These are the European standards and you don't fit in them. Okay. So we're going to make you feel some kind of way about yourself. But then there's a lot of other people over there that say, hold up, girl, don't you do that. Just like in the military, 38 was old when I retired. 38 in the civilian world is just getting started. You hear me? See the two difference, right? So somewhere you are somebody's goal. You just got to find your people, find out where you fit in at. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. Because listen, everybody ain't gonna validate you. You got to validate yourself. You just got to go find the people that will. That's it. Tell you what you need to hear. Fake it till you make it. Because in this world right here, ain't none of this stuff perfect. Nothing. There's nobody in this world that can give you the answers for your life. There's nobody in this world that can tell you what you need to be doing with your life, right? People can give you advice. People can say, well, maybe, or try this because this worked for me. But at the end of the day, you got to sit with your life. You got to sit with your decisions. You got to sit with the things that you feel, the things that you've done, the things that you haven't done, the things that you wish you've done. You got to sit with those things. Like I tell people, when I die, when I'm in my 80s, I want to get there and be like, whoo, honey, that was a good ride. That was a good ride. That was a good ride. I don't want to have no regrets. And before I end this live, something I want you to think about. When we think about confidence, okay, I want to dispel a myth that I've heard women say. Trust me, I've heard them say it. I hear it in groups. And one of the myths I hear them say is that I'll be more confident when I do this. Well, I'll be more confident when I lose 15 pounds. I'll be more confident when I get rid of my double chin. I'll be more confident if I could just get rid of this stomach. Well, what if it never happens? What if those things never happen? Then what? Do you wait? Do you wait to live your best life? I don't know. You tell me, because I can't wait. Because again, everybody's perfectly different, right? You got to figure out what works for you. Fake it till you make it, honey. All right. Listen, I don't know who this live was for, but I know it was for somebody because, like I said, I woke up and I was like, wait a minute now. You can't beat yourself up. Because when I think about my subscribers, y'all, my goal was to have 1,000 subscribers by July 4th. And I'm not saying I'm not gonna make it, but I'm at 909 today. And I'm okay with that because it's been 5 weeks and I feel that I should have more. But I was like, this is a lot of work. This is really a lot of work. And so, listen, those content creators out there who have thousands or millions or whatever millions of followers, listen, I applaud you. I applaud you because this is not easy. This is not easy. And so, listen, like I said, I enjoy this just like always. Make sure you look around the neighborhood here on Hood Parenting. Find you a house, buy you some property, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications so when I go live or upload a blog, okay, or something like that, or a beauty routine, or just something like that, honey, you will be the first to know. All right, y'all go ahead and enjoy y'all evening. And again, happy Father's Day out there to all you fathers. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.